Washington State wants you to believe your gas prices are high because of a war halfway across the world. Oregon wildfire victims just lost over $1 billion in court after already being told justice was served. And in California, a sitting congressman is stepping down after multiple sexual misconduct allegations finally went public. 3 different states, 3 different stories. But if you look a little closer, it's the same theme every time. Blame gets shifted, accountability gets delayed, and regular people are the ones left holding the bill. So tonight we're breaking down what's really going on across the West Coast and why the official explanations don't quite add up. From Seattle to Los Angeles, this is Left Coast News. No apologies, just the truth. Washington Democratic politicians Susan DelBene and apparently Patty Murray posted videos on social media saying it's Trump's fault, the Iran war, for our high gas prices here in Washington. Yes, that's part of the issue, but here's the problem with that. When tensions flare in places like the Strait of Hormuz, global oil markets react. Traders panic, futures spike, and yeah, that trickles down to gas prices. So sure, conflict involving Iran can push prices up, but here's the part they'd rather you not notice. That affects the entire country, yet Washington has been near the top of the price list for years. So unless Iran has a personal vendetta against Washington drivers specifically, that explanation falls apart pretty fast. Washington's prices were already inflated before any overseas conflict. This is the part people get annoyed about because it's boring policy stuff, but it matters more than headlines. Cap and trade, the Climate Commitment Act. The state runs a carbon credit system where fuel producers have to buy allowances. Those costs get passed straight to you at the pump. Estimates put the impact at 50 to 56 cents per gallon. And here's the kicker. The system is designed to raise fuel prices over time, to reduce usage. So when people say prices are high, the uncomfortable truth is that was literally the goal of the policy. State gas taxes. Washington already has one of the highest gas taxes in the country, around 49 cents per gallon. Stack that with the cap and trade, and you're flirting with close to $1 per gallon in state-driven cost. Additional increases in regulations. Fuel standards, low carbon fuel requirements, new gas tax increases layered on top, compliance costs for refineries. All of that builds a baseline price that's already high before global events even enter the picture. The easiest way to sanity check this, look at nearby states. Idaho is significantly cheaper, Oregon also usually cheaper, same country, same global oil market, same Iran situation, different policies. That's not conspiracy thinking, that's basic comparison. What's actually happening? Gas prices are a stack of factors, not a single cause. Global market pressure, wars, OPEC, supply, federal policy, regulations, reserves, etc. State policy, this is where Washington really stands out. Washington just happens to have high baseline costs plus global volatility on top. So when politicians say it's Iran, it's not completely false, it's just wildly incomplete. The bottom line, blaming foreign conflict for Washington gas prices is like blaming rain for a flooded house while ignoring the fact someone already drilled holes in the roof. The global situation might raise prices a bit. State policy determines how painful that increase becomes. And right now, Washington drivers are basically paying a premium to live inside a policy experiment. Not exactly the kind of innovation people were hoping for when they wanted to get to work without taking out a small loan at the pump. Moving on to Oregon. Survivors of the 2020 Labor Day fires are taking their case to the Oregon Supreme Court after an appeals court ruling in favor of PacifiCorp cast years of litigation and billions in awards into question. In June 2023, a Multnomah County jury found PacifiCorp at fault for causing the Santiam, Echo Mountain, 242, and South Obuchain fires and liable to a class of roughly 2,000 victims. In the years since the verdict, juries have awarded more than $1.2 billion to 189 wildfire survivors. Many more had court dates scheduled that would have resulted in awards. On April 8th, the Oregon Court of Appeals ruled that the 2023 verdict was flawed, saying instructions to the jury were prejudice against PacifiCorp. The appeals court reversed the remanded the case. So what comes next? Will an appeal to Oregon Supreme Court move forward? Lawyers for the plaintiffs said they will appeal to the Oregon Supreme Court. Oregon's High Court can either deny the petition or take up the case and hear arguments. A decision will likely come this summer. If the court agrees to hear the case, it could take a year or two for arguments to take place. For fire victims counting on money from the lawsuit to start a new life or rebuild, the appeals court decision was a kick in the teeth. In the 2020 Santiam fire, Gates resident Christine Grom lost her home, cars, memories, and eventually her father, who had a stroke as the family fled the fire and later died. The family lived nomadically for 2 years before resettling on their burned property in a manufactured home. A jury awarded her $4.6 million, money she was hoping would allow her family to start a new life far from the Santiam Canyon. Diane Turnbull, executive director of Upward Bound, a camp for disabled adults that lost all its buildings in the Santiam fire, was hoping the $5 million award would help restore the camp to full time rather than just being open in summer. When I first got the news, it was hard to believe. It was just like, what fresh hell is this, Turnbull said in a 2023 trial. The jury blamed PacifiCorp for failing to shut down power in the face of a historically powerful east wind storm, which led to downlines that ignited the fires. They also blamed the utility for failing to maintain its power lines. The three-person appeals court, however, ruled that the court erred in telling the jury that it could assume that the evidence at the trial applies to all class members. In essence, that evidence from one fire could apply to others. That instruction was legally erroneous because certain evidence at trial, particularly related to causation, did not necessarily apply to every class member, the court wrote. The court also seemed to find fault with the way the class of fire victims was put together, with one trial representing fire victims from 4 distinct and different wildfires. PacifiCorp has long disputed how the original trial was run. The utility had particular issues with being blamed for the Santiam Canyon fires, given the nearby Beachy Creek fire also burned into the area during the windstorm. And now for California. Representative Eric Swalwell, a Democrat from California, said on Monday he would resign from Congress following multiple allegations of sexual assault and misconduct that ended his bid for governor. Swalwell was facing a growing chorus of bipartisan calls for him to step down or face an expulsion vote a day after he announced that he would suspend his campaign for governor of California. Swalwell, who polls showed was narrowly leading the race to replace Governor Gavin Newsom, suspended his campaign after the San Francisco Chronicle reported that a female former staffer said the congressman sexually assaulted her twice. CNN published a similar account hours later, as well as allegations from 3 other women of Swalwell sending them unwanted explicit photos or messages. Why are people in California voting for this guy? It wasn't enough that he cheated on his wife with a Chinese spy and nothing happened. And now you're going to make this guy governor of California? I honestly am flabbergasted this guy was leading in the polls. Is that how stupid people are down there? At the end of the day, these aren't separate stories. They're the same story playing out in different ways. In Washington, you're being told high gas prices are out of your control, while state policies quietly guarantee you'll pay more no matter what happens overseas. In Oregon, families who lost everything are now stuck in legal limbo, watching billion-dollar verdicts disappear over technicalities while they're still trying to rebuild their lives. And in California, you've got another powerful politician stepping down only after public pressure becomes impossible to ignore. Different states, different issues, same pattern. Decisions get made at the top, regular people deal with the consequences, and accountability always seems just out of reach. That's the part nobody wants to say out loud. Thank you for watching Left Coast News. Please like, share, follow, and drop a comment below with your thoughts. Are Washington gas prices really about global conflict, or are state policies the real driver? And what do you think about the Oregon wildfire ruling and Swalwell stepping down? Drop your take below. If you got anything out of this story, subscribe and share. You can find us on YouTube, Rumble, Brighteon, BitChute, Patreon, Facebook, X, Truth Social, Instagram, TikTok, and Spotify. Thanks for watching.